Nightwing 81. Tom Taylor writing, Bruno Redondo on the art. Big, obviously, reveal at the end of the issue, which we'll get to. But to kick things off, we left the story with Nightwing and Heartless standing surrounded by fire. Although the start of this issue actually starts with Melinda Zuko being sworn in as mayor of Brookhaven.
I love that, and then I just love the idea that was just for the people, but the real city council wants to greet her.
Yeah,
it's such a good vibe. I hate to do this because it cheapens Nightwing, but I really feel this is a Daredevil story, right? Like, I just feel like Blockbuster's Kingpin, and he just put his person in there, and it's someone that Matt's familiar with, but it's also uniquely Nightwing. That I just feel like these are just archetypes of street level characters at this point.
Yeah, like I dig the Kingpin leading all these mob bosses that are like, how are you going to serve my city, mayor? Like, there's kind of these.
You mean Blockbuster?
What did I say?
You said Kingpin.
Well, that's your fault.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking.
I know, but
I wasn't thinking Kingpin. That's your fault. You put that in my head.
Seeing him, but when you turn the page and you see him sitting there and he takes up a big chunk of the frame, all I could think of was Kingpin.
Fair, Blockbuster's always taking up a fair chunk of the frames.
Right, but still, like, I just feel like this is just Nightwing's history, that they are kind of similar, down to the Eskrima sticks versus the Billy Club, and I just let Tom Taylor just do whatever he wants, because it's still good, no matter what.
So we come back to Nightwing and Heartless. Barbara can't get a read on him because he's got like coating on his outfit, and yeah, he lets the kids go because he's like, "Hey, you must have an impressive heart, Nightwing," and he pulls out his heart extracting device. But Nightwing, of course,
real on the nose.
Yeah,
real on the nose.
Nightwing, of course, fights back, throws his stick, which it gets caught. A lot of nice art here. There's a 2-page layout with the punches and the flipping, and there's all just this fire behind them, so it's got quite a bit of atmosphere. Continues on over the couple of pages. But then Heartless is like, look, you're taking all those kids out to that pier. That's where Tim's taking them all. And he's got that rig to explode. The end of the pier. And he does so. He clicks it. And it's fire. And great panel here, actually. I love the dog, Haley. Just
Bitewing.
Or now he's got an alias. He's now got 2 names, as pointed out later. Bitewing. But he's barking out. It becomes this real, like, sort of like try to get faith in the city again moment where Nightwing just says to Oracle, "Look, broadcast me over the ship frequency. Let me ask for help." And he just calls upon all the ships in the vicinity to come and help save the kids from the pier. And we get this just great page of like all the ships calling in saying, "Hey, this is so and so. We're on our way. A couple minutes out." And there's that that wide panel in the middle of the page where just all the blinding lights of all the ships coming towards the pier. It's a very heartwarming thing. It's it's Nightwing having his faith in the city rewarded, and that's kind of your that's your difference in some ways to a Batman story. Is these more this is where Nightwing, obviously he is compared to Daredevil a lot, but this was a very Spider-Man moment. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. These are just archetypes. Like, Spider-Man's sometimes street level, but not all the time. He can ride both of those lines. But yeah, it's definitely just archetypes of street level, and it works, right? That's why it resonates so well. Like, all these ships coming in to take the kids, it's a really good superhero moment.
Yeah, but he passes out and does Nightwing. He wakes up, he's got a concussion. Barbara's giving him shit and saying that he should stay in bed. This is where we get the new name of Bitewing, and he's like, the name's Haley, and Barbara and Tim are like, you're saying that we can't have more than one name? Like, I've got 3. So
that was great. And this is the type of thing I was talking about before with, like, we don't want to talk about Rick Grayson, right? We like to sweep that under the rug. However, Tom Taylor brings in the whole idea that Dick has to be careful getting his bell rung, because he did survive a shooting to the head, and in his job, he gets punched in the head a lot. That's not good for brains.
No, I
You
think
know?
it's a smart use of it in the sense that it's acknowledging there was head trauma, but it's not necessarily
Yeah.
getting into specifics about what was happening. It's just, no, he
No.
was injured. That's all you have to really know.
Right, but me and you know what that was, and so it's good that they're not just sweeping it under the rug. That he used it for smart storytelling because it's going to come into play later,
They can,
right?
yeah, they can use it to make him feel vulnerable in situations
Mhm.
where, maybe he's in a predicament. But this is
Right.
where Barbara says, so yeah, new mayor got got sworn in and shows him the Zuko name, and he's like, wait a minute, I don't like this
Mhm.
at all. And he wants to go and find out, what she's up to, what her plans are. Having a corrupt mayor that's working for all the mob bosses is going to make him trying to save the city much tougher. So he wants to go and investigate. And Barbara grounds him and says, "No, you're not going. You need rest." But Dick can't sleep, of course.
Nope.
He's up looking through, and the colors here are great because you've got the blue interiors, but the red sky of the nighttime.
Yeah.
Contrast there is wonderful. So sure enough, he goes out, gets up in the windows of this tall building. I enjoyed the. It's almost like you're reading an instruction manual, and you have the strip of instructions of how to do something in the middle, because the different art in that series of like four
Yep.
panels where it shows you him like making the circle in the glass in the window, like a cat burglar.
Mhm.
But Oracle gets on the comms and gives him shit. And he's like, "Look, I'm not going to get into any physical activity. I'm just going to have a snoop around, okay? Just a wee snoop."
I love that she's like, you realize you're still wearing my camera, and he goes, yeah. Like clearly he didn't. Like
Yes.
this is just another good Dick Grayson moment of I didn't think this through all the way.
Yeah, I do love him saying, I'm not going to get into any physical activity. On the same
Yeah.
panel, we see a henchman like waiting
Yep.
with a sword. Like,
And that's well, and I love that Barbara's there for him, and this is why I love this relationship where it's not overtly romantic, but they're such a good team. Where she's watching the cameras, right, and she's like, "You got someone on your left," and it's just they just make a good team, regardless if there's romance there or not. But I do feel like it's an that Taylor's being more nuanced about it, right? But she's clearly a main character in this book with him.
yeah, I mean, he clearly understands why the relationship works, why we care about them being together, romantic or otherwise. And I just want to talk about this page. So this page where he's fighting the woman with the sword, and
Yep.
they're going down the stairs. The art here, the layout is wonderful. The way it has the stairs go down from the top, row of panels. In fact, even just the way it does an extra outline of the middle box where he's like diving past their legs is just such a little touch that gives it that beat in the moment and the action. But the way the stairs go down, and then when they go back across for the middle row of panels, the idea that the side of the steps that's facing us actually becomes the negative white space instead of just more stair color actually makes it feel more dynamic. And then when the stairs go down to the the bottom row, because we're looking through him falling back downstairs going the other way, instead of getting full stairs, we only get the sort of the top slates of the stairs, right? So we can see him falling through the stairs. So it does this thing where every time we get another level of stairs, they're presented in a different way. And it makes it feel like the fight is ever evolving on the way down through the art. And it ends with him getting hit with a bat because Melinda Zuko comes out with a baseball bat. He's not in his best place. He's not ready to fight here. He wakes up. It's a red room. His mask is off. He kind of freaks out and says, "Wait, I'm not wearing my mask. I'm not wearing my mask." Well, he doesn't even say it. He just thinks in his head. Sorry. And Melinda looks and says, "Dick Grayson." So she knows who he is now. This is clearly a surprise for her in the moment. He breaks out of the restraints. He grabs and says, "You're the daughter of Tony Zuko," and she says, "I'm not. I thought I was for a long time, but my father was John Grayson. Cliffhanger, I'm your sister." Shocked. Shocked Dick.
You guys said quivering Dick too.
Shocked Dick.
Yeah.
He's a wrecked with surprise.
Yes. There you go. I don't buy this. I know the way that Redondo is drawing her right here is to mimic him and to be like, oh,
very similar hair, very similar sort of stature. Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't buy it. But if she does, what does it matter, right? Like if she thinks that she's John Grayson's daughter, but was raised so. What we find out here too is that Tony Zuko didn't stick around, right? She just has Zuko's name. It was Sal Maroni and the Maroni crime family that raised her.
Yep.
So she already has an identity crisis going on. Yeah. So I don't know if this is true, and part of the reason why Zuko took out the Graysons was revenge on John. I don't know.
Well, I don't like that part. I don't like the motivation for an origin story defining moment changing. In the same way that I don't like changing why Krypton exploded,
Right.
or the reason why I don't like Batman's parents' murder being not random. Like I don't like
Right.
those things changing. I'm not against the idea. I mean, it's a little bit coincidental. Don't get me wrong. That the person behind their murder, like, had a kid who was actually like, you know, Dick's sister. Like that is a bit convoluted potentially, depending on how they go through with it. What I'm more interested in here though is the dynamics that are going to play out now that we've had this reveal, in the sense that, is she playing the villains because she wants to like take them down from within? Is she actually just a villain? Is that something Dick's going to struggle to come to terms with?
Mm-hmm.
Those character dynamics are actually very interesting. How they actually justify this sister twist, whether it's real or not, is going to be an interesting. It'll be very curious to see how Taylor plays this, and if it'll ever ring false. Because while you're doubting that it's true, it's not that you're doubting the writing. You're doubting that the character's been honest, or that indeed that she believes it, but she's wrong, perhaps.
Exactly.
But like, is there a point going to come where, when the truth is revealed, that we go, oh, we don't buy this because it feels forced? And that's something that I would expect from a lot of stories like this. But in Taylor, I somewhat trust. So we'll see.
No, we've seen something like this before, kind of in All New Wolverine, right? When we get introduced to Laura's sisters, and it was this whole side that we never saw. And ultimately, it didn't change who Laura was as a character. You know, she's still a Wolverine X-23, but we got Gabby, right? And that introduction, and it works so well with a slight little tweak to Laura's origin.
I think.
And here, if we get a long-term character that she kind of is, she plays her side. Sometimes she's an ally to Dick, but she doesn't mind that he's Nightwing, right? It's just like, stay out of my business, I'll stay out of yours. And they have this thing back and forth.
It honestly it's impossible to even predict what the relationship's going to be, because we don't know enough about what her intentions are truthfully right now, to really make that guess. I will say the difference between this and All New Wolverine is that those sisters, well, they technically existed. There were new clones, there were new characters, there were new additions, whereas this is a character, well, technically new to us, is supposed to have existed since, Grayson's childhood. So it's a little bit different.
Right, but he doesn't really know her. Like, she's familiar with Dick Grayson, but it's not like...
Well, that's my point, though. This is a retcon addition as opposed to a new addition.
Is she, though? Because this, to me, she feels like a new character that Taylor brought in. No different than the sisters.
No, but it's been retconned into Nightwing's past, so therefore it is different. This is adding a character into his past. Who, I mean, he didn't know about her, but that doesn't change the fact that this was supposed to have happened with his father, assuming this is true, which it might turn out not to be.
Right.
But
right.
That's very different than just creating new characters who were literally grown in a lab in that case.
Right.
Right. So they're just new. And a relationship forms from there. Now, the relationship that Dick forms with this character now from here could be very genuine, could be very heartwarming, could be something we end up really loving and all that. But there is a fundamental difference in that this is a character who's supposed to have existed previously in the universe back to a certain time. But unknown. This is a soap opera. This is you've got a long lost sister. Ha ha. That's what this is, effectively. I mean, it may be told much better than that, but that's effectively what it is.
Yeah, part of me hopes that it's true, just for adding a new character.
I'm all for more supporting characters that have weight behind them. Maybe there's some interesting dynamics here. I do kind of like that this issue shifted from the Heartless stuff to the Zuko, like Melinda Zuko stuff, because
effortlessly.
it feels to me now like Heartless is kind of lingering in the background now, right? Where he can maybe like be gone for like a full issue, maybe he'll pop up at the end of the next issue, or maybe they'll give him a full issue off, but it feels like he can strike now, and it's going to feel like it's not a cheat because no, we got distracted with the Zuko stuff, and it makes sense that that Dick would get distracted, not only just because it's important to the side, but because that name Zuko has a lot of weight to Dick. Like he would drop what he's doing to go find out there's a Zuko doing what now. I need to go check that out. Right. There's a personal attachment to it.
This is 4 issues into Taylor's run, and Zuko's been mentioned in every single one. So he's just swapping the plots from foreground to background.
Yeah, effortlessly.
But I like the mystery with Heartless though too. Is that I remember, and this is gonna go back. I remember I got into Hulk comics. I want to know who Red Hulk was, right? And the way that Marvel was selling it was this whole mystery of who was Red Hulk. And by the end of the first arc, you didn't know, and it kind of took the wind out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here, where you have Heartless, I don't need to know who Heartless is, but I feel like less is more at this point because it keeps that mystery and just the creepiness. You know what I mean? Like
right now, I don't feel like they're selling it like he's someone we're going to know.
Oh, I don't mean it. I don't mean like that. I'm just talking about like, when you see this cover and Heartless is so front and center that you would think like, oh, we're going to get a resolution to this Heartless thing. And it's like, well, no, we're pushing that back and we're going to keep Heartless. If we keep this going for a long time, I think it's fine because Taylor's earned that trust, that the balance here. Because I like how creepy Heartless is. Like, we don't get villains like that too much anymore. When he said like, oh no, the kids can run, I like when they run. Wait, what? And then you find out that the whole part was to drop the fear to the pier and then blow up the pier. Like, it's just, man, you put a face to that, or you make him more of a traditional villain, and I feel like it loses.
And he has a lot of like sick dialogue there where he talks about how he likes to watch people like die and suffer, but you'll imagine this one. I actually almost felt like a Dark Knight Rises like paraphrasing. When Bane says, "You'll have to imagine the fire." He says, "I'll have to imagine the or I've got a good imagination." It made me think of that a little bit. I will say I do expect there'll be some resolution to the Heartless stuff by about issue 6, just because that's where arcs typically wrap up. I don't necessarily know if it'll be the end of the story overall though, but I could see it having some sort of climactic, chapter end there at the very least.
We've read enough Taylor to know that he's great at weaving stuff in. It's kind of early Johns was the same way, where if he knew he was going to have enough issues that he would pay stuff off later. So again, I go back to All New Wolverine, and some of the stuff that Taylor plotted in the first comes back and pays around by the 3rd trade or so. Yeah. So, and that's the type of comic storytelling I'm a fan of. It pays off like it's a full on tapestry of a story, versus these are just little arcs that happen one after another. So, but this is really good. Like, I'm so glad. Like, I get Tom Taylor writing a good Nightwing book, and now he'll be on Superman. And those are 2 things that we've been asking for, and DC has now made happen.
Yeah, so, I mean, I hope this is a long run. Obviously, there's no like quibbles or doubting that, but it does feel like it's setting up some stuff that we can play with for a long time, and these other supporting characters that are becoming more prominent. I mean, just the fact that he's setting up the landscape of the politics of the city at the same time of having like a villain that Nightwing's having to deal with, and even just giving Nightwing all this money to set up, it feels like it's setting up a lot of things that it's going to take a run to work through and like do all these stories and tell all the tales that need to be told. So, it's not a good issue. The actual sister reveal, like I say, it's a bit soap opera on its own, on the surface level, but I do think there's a lot of potential for the dynamic between them. Whether or not it's true, whether or not, I mean, I expect he may have some time trying to figure out if it is true or not. He may get Babs on the case to try and figure it out. I mean, Babs might already be looking at it. She's probably seen in the camera.
Right.
If they didn't get conked out when he got hit with the bat, but interesting. So, what are you giving Nightwing issue 81?
I'm giving this a 9.
I will give it a 8.5.
Okay.